Greetings, students, and welcome back to the classroom. I'm so late. Couldn't help it. There was nothing I could do. I had to get a drink. There was nothing else to be done. It had to be done. Woo, how is everybody doing today? That's good to hear. Alright, we are back with some Racer Royale game development. Hi, Overflowed. How's it going? Welcome to another game development stream. We are going to be working on car jumps, aerial physics, turning, rotation, all that good stuff. And if I can get to it, we're going to tweak the speed stuff as well when it comes to this car, because I have discovered that the max speed check is not working as intended. The overlay is just broke as hell. And let's see, what was the other thing? Something's happening. A new issue that just popped up. It's shaking a lot, so that's something I'm going to be working on today as well. Yes, basically, I'm making Rocket League. That was the inspiration. Why can't we have a racing game with cars like Rocket League? Why hasn't anyone built that yet? It's $1 million idea. Hence, why I'm doing it. What on earth is that? Oh. Huh. That's weird. It's a dead bug on my leg. Anyway. Alright. So, the very first thing we got to do, we've got to diagnose this new issue that came up after yesterday's work and see why the hell it's happening. If it's happening at all. Okay, that's what I thought. So what was happening is that the car was like jumping like a Bronco. And I figured, oh, that's just because I'm loading everything right now, so the game is freaking out. But if you look at it, it is shaking, isn't it? Look at that. Why is that happening? Why is it that when I'm sitting completely still, the car wants to go back and forth? What would cause such a thing? Like, I know why it's doing the bounce back and forth, because if you imagine all four wheels are like springs, that's basically how my wheel system works. Once one starts going, it's going to push back, and it's just going to keep going back and forth like a teeter-totter. But what I don't understand is what's causing the force to start in the first place. Is if I'm just driving along... Oh, by the way, I fixed the camera. So now we can look at this from any angle that we want. Doesn't appear to be jittering. Oh, no, there it goes. But it always corrects itself. Eventually. Huh. What would be doing that? Doesn't seem to be too serious of a problem right now, but it is pretty noticeable. My God. Let's see what happens if I jump. Do I freak out in the air? No, actually, that's pretty fine. Okay. And my tilting issue should be fixed. Okay. By the way, if anyone's watching, if the stream is lagging or jittering, please let me know. That was something we were running into a lot yesterday. So I think if I just move it to a smaller screen, it turns out to be great for everyone else. I just want to be sure. I'm watching doing something in the background. Oh no, you're fine, bunny. Totally get it. Everybody's got lives on weekdays. Okay, so that's doing just fine. So what could be causing the bouncing? I guess I'm going to call it the teeter-totter thing right now. I'm here currently making a sniper army. Ooh, that should be fun. I've always loved snipers. Like, maybe they're maybe not the most effective unit, but damn, they are fun. Yeah, I totally get it. I wonder if there's a way I can test this. Ooh, what if we go over like a tilted surface? Does that fire it off? No, if anything, it's more stable. And pushes it back because it's on uneven ground. Not to mention, if I'm not moving, there should be no forces acting at all because I have a 0 speed function that says if you're not moving and no buttons are being pressed, nothing happens. So I guess we need to look into that. Because this is clearly a problem with the suspension components. Clearly. I mean, using springs to control the car has caused so many issues. I have to tackle them one by one. But it's solved so many of my other problems that it's worth it more to keep it than it is to change. Because I couldn't figure it out otherwise. You know, I actually was looking back through all my old versions today. There are some doozies that I was making. I had the triangle car. I had the rectangle car, the gray car. Then there was the chaos car, which was just a total disaster. And the invisible car. It just had 4 wheels. All the different versions testing the different ways I wanted to control the physics. And they all of them sucked until I reached the hover car. And that's why I've been sticking with it since. So I may complain about the spring system, but goddamn it works. Except when it doesn't, which is what we're going to diagnose now. Okay, so I'm going to increase the viewport so you guys can see it. I believe it's Control-Shift-W? Yes. So I'll increase this to about 1.4. And that should make, yeah, that makes it much easier to read. Cool. Okay. So instead of picking on the suspensions, there's got to be other logic getting in the way. And I wonder, was this happening before with the pitch shifting? So for those who weren't in the Discord and didn't see this announcement, I fixed the issue that came up yesterday with the tilting. I figured out by adding a in-air pitch correction that straight up checked to see, are you in the air and have you moved yet? It says just stop moving, no velocity in angles whatsoever. You should not be rotating or turning. So all the natural tendency for the car to, you know, spin out in air, that just gets zeroed out. That fixed all the issues. But I wonder if that's also causing this current issue. Because I had to turn this function off. This one's called pitch shifting. And I did this to control the pitch of my car. So basically when I sped up, it should tilt forward, and when it brakes, it should tilt back. You know, kind of like how a real car would activate. And I initially designed it so that it would look more realistic, and that when I went up ramps, it would be less likely to hit the hitbox. But now, since the design of the car has improved, I don't think I need this anymore. But the problem is, I think this was counteracting another potential issue, which was with the back and forth of my suspension components, it creates a feedback loop. So let's say a little tiny bump bounces. Oh yeah, before I go any further, totally sorry, we gotta listen to some lo-fi. I promised music. Because everyone knows you can't work on games without listening to awesome music. There we go. We'll do synthwave radio just like we did yesterday. Make sure it's not too loud. If that's too loud or you can't hear me, just let me know. That way you aren't just listening to the sound of my voice. 62 snipers, hot damn. Okay, so... too loud. There we go. It was at the quiet part of the song, so I couldn't adjust for the louder part. That's better. Okay. So the feedback loop. So let's say I get a force on the front of the car. It bounces forward a little bit, springs back, but that in turn creates a force on the back of the car. Because it's tilting the front of the car up, it's only natural for the back of the car to tilt down. So then it springs back and creates a more powerful bounce back. And then that just keeps going back and forth and creates an endless feedback loop. But that was counteracted by controlling the pitch at all times so that that would never happen. But now that I've turned it off, I'm going to have to create a function just to deal with that. Because just standing there, nothing's happening at all. There are still endless calculations happening with those springs. And eventually, one of them's going to get a little bit bigger than normal, which is going to cause a slightly bigger reaction in the back. And then that creates the feedback until eventually the feedback itself is canceled out by how strong it is, because I have another function called the tether component, which is keeping the car pulled to the ground, which eventually I think overpowers that tilt. By the way, I've added the free flow camera. God, why is... that's so annoying. So how do we stop a feedback loop? One of the biggest reasons that's happening, I think, is because the spring back is so powerful. Because right now, the spring is compressed at all times, right? This is like the average dimensions I would want for a car. Except it's not, is it? Because I would want the wheels to be in the car. So hold on, I have a reference point over here. Okay, so this little peg right here is 2 meters tall in the Unreal Engine. So this is a human being's height. Average height of 2 meters. So the average car should be shorter than your typical human being. So the box needs to be lower to the ground. And the wheels need to be... this needs to be adjusted. So this is another thing I need to work on. Should I do that right now? I mean, yeah, we're working on the suspension issue regardless. So... we could update the look of the car. Okay, so I go to the viewport. This is just how the car looks in the ether. The 4 suspension components are attached to each corner of the car. They're meant to simulate the wheels. And I put them so that the edge of every wheel would be hitting the edge of the car. So here, let me show you a reference. The wheel's radius, it's not just a laser, it's like a big cone. Or sorry, a capsule. Maybe like a spotlight. I don't know what the best visual is. Maybe springs. But basically, I wanted the springs to just barely be touching each other in the center and be just on the edge of the car itself. I mean, I could possibly extend them a little farther to the left and right. And otherwise, I wanted the springs to be a little bit in front of the car itself as well. Could you possibly edit the car so that the wheels aren't directly underneath the body? Yeah, I definitely need to change that. And I could do that just by editing the wheels. I don't even need to change the components themselves. So, frankly speaking, the box part needs to be lower to the ground. The wheels are technically in the place they should be, but obviously they have no collisions. So they're just plain old clipping through the ground. They're just kind of tethered to the box. So let's see what we can do. All right, so first we need to remember the position of the body. Like straight up. Because if we're going to be messing with it, I don't want anything to be ruined. The body, the root part? Oh, good, it is. Okay. Wait. It won't let me edit the position? I need to lower the car. I mean, I guess I could raise the wheels. It's not a problem. Well, I guess because it's the root asset, there's no point in moving it because it is dead center of the world. Okay, so we can work around that. All right, so instead, let's go ahead and move these. So each suspension component is at 0Z. Let's remember that. So let's raise each one by 50. Let's do 100. Okay. So assuming the wheels are in the same place, that's still not good enough. 150. That's too much. 125. Okay, that's about the height you would want wheels to be on a car. I have an idea. I don't know if it's a good one, but I have an idea. Would it be possible to make one spring? No, when a different spring is applying force. Oh. I could do that. But unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to tell it when to do something about it and when not to do something about it. Because there are some instances when the back is pushing up that I would want the front to still activate. So for instance, what's happening in this teeter-totter, if the car is going down on the front and the back is being raised, and it's going to be resisted, I can't tell the springs don't go up when the other one's going up, or vice versa, because then they would never move, and then the car just wouldn't drive right. But there might be a possibility there. Is there a way to get it to not do a feedback loop by watching the other suspension components? I could make it only activate when I'm pressing a button. No, that's not right, because if I'm in the air, I'm not necessarily pressing buttons. I need it to land. No, what's the check I would need to do? There is something there. Maybe I don't need the suspension components to watch each other, but I need another function to watch the suspensions and shut them off under certain circumstances. Like my zero function, my zero speed function. It'll tell the suspensions when you are at rest. That's what I should call it, at rest. When you are at rest, stop firing. But that would only solve the problem at rest. It wouldn't solve the problem in movement. Shoot. I mean, there's something there. I'll look more into that. First, let's change the layout of this car. Okay, so the way this is designed is that the wheels are just bouncing in accordance with the ground. They are at the same height that the suspension component is. So, and they are compressing. But it didn't, so when it compressed, it made it go lower. But the wheels shouldn't, oh, see that was my mistake. The wheels should not be even with the suspensions. They should move a little bit in relation with the suspensions. Okay, in either case, I like the strength of my suspensions right now. So let's increase the, or decrease, sorry, the height that these were up. Let's go to 75. Compile. And we'll deal with the wheels later. I just need the car to be able to drive and go up ramps. Okay. Car can drive. Test 1. Can the car go up ramps? Check. See, this is why I built these ramps. Teeter-totter issue still happening. Ignore it. 15 degrees. Check. $30 degrees. Roger. Okay. Seems like a good height. And then 45 degrees is kind of where I expect most cars to teeter off. Good, good. Alright, so this height works. Let's try something like a curved ramp. Let's try the loop. Man, that car is clipping through that, but it's still driving. Right now we do regular curves. Car's pivoting as normal. Okay. Whoa, I am flying through the air. A bit too floaty, huh? We might have to increase its gravity, or at the very least make it heavier while it's in the air, so that it falls faster. Let me add that to my checklist. A strange sense of deja vu. How come? Have we gone over this before? Okay, checklist. Create falling force while in the air to make car fall faster without pinning it to the ground while driving. And we are currently doing another task. Edit car wheel and spring layout to be more like a normal car. So that we'll just say we're doing that right now. And currently the bug report that we're working on, I've got to create a new one. car is teeter-tottering between the front and back springs due to the pitch shift function being turned off. A new function to control this must be created, as the force itself is random and cannot be controlled. I'd say this is a pretty serious issue. Physics, introduced by me, created today, last seen today. Cool. Feels like this has happened before, but it hasn't. I think I'm more concerned about this. This is the first time something like this has happened. That's true. I have hit this issue, similar issues to this, several times. But that's just it, just how it is with all this. You know, the constant trial and error. That actually looks pretty natural. I like memories that seem so much like matches, but they seem too much. I mean, granted, we did this a long time ago when we were first making Racer Royale. So, but yeah, it's possible. Okay, so there's our human. That seems more about right. The car hitbox is about 2 meters high. There's a little gap underneath. Still need to fix the wheels, but that seems a lot more natural. Okay, I like that a lot more. Okay, we'll call that boxcar 2.0. Perfect. Okay, so I could probably update the boxcar to carve out the wheels, but that's an aesthetic. I'm not really worried about that. I'm making a second one since the first one did so well. Oh, good. See, sometimes snipers are just the best answer. Okay, so let me think. Let me think. In-air check, in-air pitch correction. Let me check my absolute zero mode. That's what I called it. So this should be checking the suspensions and telling it not to move. But let me see where it's failing. Alright, so first, check to see if any of them are touching the ground. If they are, then check to see if any of the buttons are being pressed. If nothing is being pressed, then check to see if the forward speed of my car is below 1. If it is, then I want you to make the forward speed equal to 0. Then I want you to set the physics linear velocity to 0. Oh! I'd set the linear velocity to 0, but I need to set the angular velocity to 0 too. Because that's why it's bouncing all over the place. Okay, but that only fixes the problem at rest. It does not fix the problem while moving. So let me confirm that this is working at rest. Whoa, car got very bouncy there. One supply drop isn't enough money, call on the other 100, you'll be fine. Oh my god. How many snipers are you gonna have? Okay, so car is currently not bouncing back and forth as expected. We drive. It should happen at some point. Yeah, I see it already. Confirm the more extreme version. And what's crazy is that this is happening on a smooth, flat surface. So I don't understand why this is happening at all. Okay. We go to rest. Boom. Everything should stop moving, period. Good. Because when you're at rest, I mean, nothing should move. Unless something enacts on it. Yeah, I need to prove that this jittering is still happening. Ooh, you know what's... Seems to be pardon me. Ooh, excuse me. So turning appears to force the issue. It doesn't make it happen outright, but there it is. Boom. Okay, that's proof. I think what eventually happens is that the car ends up hitting the ground, and that's what stops it from continuously bouncing. Yeah, what's a new streamline bug this time? Well, in dying, I'm glad you asked. So today we're fixing the teeter-totter. So the car, eventually, when I'm driving, will start pitching like crazy back and forth. I'm trying to find a consistent way to make it happen. It's basically happening because... There it is. Ugh. It's basically happening because I've got springs on the back and front of my car. So, they're springing back and forth. And because I had to turn off my pitch control, they are now free to do whatever they want in that direction, so they are just bouncing like crazy. So, that is what we are tackling right now. Remove the springs. Well, the springs are how the car stays up. Stays above the ground. So it comes back to the whole, is the spring action really the best way to do this? And I'm starting to think that it's not. Because they're just so powerful. Cars do have a little bit of a spring to them, but they don't have that much. Put a spring in the center of the car instead. Well, the, center the spring. That work? Just thinking. No. Because while that would dampen the effect, that wouldn't solve it. Because there'd still be springiness. Should really figure out a way to have the wheels have collision that make a center spring. You know what? You're right. I'm gonna go over the suspension components right now. Because the entire system relies on these 4 suspensions, and I need them to be working properly. So let's break this down. Because by definition, the suspension is just a laser, big giant flashlight, being pinned into the ground. And that's how I detect if the car is touching the ground. Because I don't want to have the car rely on rotational force. I just need it to go. So I just have the thing say, add force to the car when I press forward. So why did I land on the hover car? Because of the floatiness. I loved the ability to control the floatiness of the car because there was no friction between the bottom of the car and the track. And because of that, I've been able to absolutely control the drift, the skidding, the zero mode. All of that has been put under full control because I technically don't have anything colliding. And I can still have that, but I need to turn them from springs into freaking tires. So let's do that. Okay, so right here, It's casting a giant sphere, basically a flashlight, into the ground, detecting what it's hitting. It's telling me what that object is. And then we do some calculations. The first is we are calculating the distance between where the suspension starts and where the suspension currently is. So basically, the suspension distance is how much it's been compressed. The trace distance is how far I'm shooting the flashlight. I then compare those against each other, and I create a variable called the hover delta. And I use this to calculate the compression ratio. Basically, I say, has this been compressed 50%, 10%, 5%, what? And using all of these coefficients and numbers that I've put together, I get a direction and a force that I then apply to the car where the suspension component is, directly upwards. I should change that. That is a magic number. Sorry. What I mean by a magic number in programming is you never want a hard-coded number in your code. You want a variable for every place that you could put a number. So that way you don't have to go through all this code later and try to find that one number that you hard-coded. Instead, you could just go straight to the variable you made for it and go from there. Let's split it first, and then we're going to promote this into a variable. We're going to call this suspension force. It's way too high. Why is the force so high? Okay, remember this number, 51,200. I'm gonna have this to 25,000. If I have the power. Hey, Santamania, how's it going? Wait, did I say Santamania? Hold on, I want to make sure I get that name right. Santamania. Okay, cool. Hi, thanks for stopping by. Ooh, someone just cashed in overtime. Indyne wants me to work into the night tonight. Thank you kindly, much appreciated. And you want me to change the banner color. Spoiled. Okay, so suspension force is applied here. Man, this code is all over the place. Is there a way to make this look nicer? Not really. Let's make these go out a little farther. Just so I can make this look a little nicer. Okay, suspension force. Let's get the blue there. Okay, just doing a little tidying. The less clutter you have in your nodes, the better. Sorry. Okay. Alright, so if I have the force, will that make it easier to control? We should gotta make that public. So we can change it if we want. Oh, but it's all 4 suspension components, so I'd have to change it for each one. I'll have to change it here each time, regardless. Not to worry, we're good. Okay, I just want to make sure that we are hitting the car with the proper force each time. Sorry, I keep hitting the mic. If the car is the car and the direction of the force is greater than 45 degrees, do it. If it's not, don't do it. And then set it to previous hover delta. So wait, why do I have this second force at location? If I'm not applying any force to it... Oh no, I am applying force. Huh? Oh, I created two different scenarios. Oh no. If it's less than negative 45 degrees, and add the force at location. So I did that so that the angle... If... What? What is my logic here? And what is all this over here? The hell is this? Brake vector? The frick? What are all these? I was setting variables. Oh, I remember this. I was trying to maximize the amount of force I would do in any direction, but it never worked. Just update my user here as previously undying. Oh, cool. Yeah, legit. Cool beans. Okay, so... By the way, what color do you want me to change the banner to? I didn't see a message for it. Hot pink? I like your style. Okay, so let me do that real quick. We haven't done that one yet. Should be super easy too. So first we make it a solid pink color. And then we turn that saturation all the way up. Maybe a little brightness? No, too much brightness. Hot pink. That seems a little purple. Hold on, let me see if I can make that a bit brighter. I don't want to go too far. Woo, too far. Yeah, I can't really adjust the gamma. I want it to be like Barbie pink. Come on. Otherwise, what's the point? Okay. Looks like that's as close as I'm getting. Anyway, hot pink. All right. Let me think. You know what? I guess the only way to test this is just to go for it. Okay, car is still driving normally. Woo! If my theory is that if I lower the jittering force, then it won't have enough force to create a feedback loop. So it'll just stop jittering naturally. So I won't have to force the pitch control, because I still want it to look natural, you know? Making it look robotically still just isn't natural. Oh, no, it's still happening. Okay, and if we look at the car, it still feels like it's at the right distance. Okay, so let's lower it even more. In fact, I'm going to be drastic. I'm going to change this to an incredibly low number, 250. Because I want to see if I am actually changing the force on this car. I don't think I am. That jitter is so defined now. Okay. This is what I was afraid of. I think this top force here is only occurring in certain situations. When my force is at such an angle that I need a sharp jump upwards. But I can't even remember the logic behind this. I should have commented this out a while back because I can't figure this logic out. So let's break it down. I currently have 120 supply drop snipers and one of each tier 5. The planes, when dropping supplies, block the entire screen. Okay. So, this is the hover delta. This is essentially telling me the distance that the suspension has been compressed. I take this number and I use it to calculate the compression ratio. So basically, if I'm shooting a laser 100 units and hover delta is calculated to 30 units, that means that the spring is compressed 30%. So that's my compression ratio. Then I test to see that I am going after my parent vehicle, which is the car, so it only applies force to your own car. And then we're testing something. We're taking the vehicle, we're getting the forward vector, we're taking the surface impact normal of the surface that we're on, which we took because of the laser, so we know which direction the ground is facing, right? I've got the ground, here's my car, the car is facing this way, the ground is facing this way. I then take the dot matrix of these two vectors, take the cosine of them, and I basically figure out the angle at which the difference in angle between the two. So essentially, if this is flat, this is 180 degrees, my forward vector is 90 degrees, the dot would be 90. And when put through a cosine, it comes out to, I think it's, God, I can't remember. Like pi? I can't remember trigonometry right now, but it gives me a degree. I then subtract 90 from that because I am just assuming that the car should be just facing 90 degrees. So if the car is pitched upwards or downwards, -45 or 45 degrees, I'm checking to see between which of these angles is the car. If the car is pitching upwards, that means that the angle is greater than 45 degrees. If it's greater than 45 degrees, we go to add force at location, and we just straight up punch that thing up with our suspension force, which we have set to an incredibly low number of 250, which basically doesn't do anything. And then we set hover delta, what it is currently, to another variable, previous hover delta, which we can use for calculating other things. Okay. But if the car is less than 45 degrees... No, hold on. Let me retract that. If it's greater than 45 degrees... So if it's greater than 45, that means the car would be, like, that far up. Like, it would be... Right? That's the logic I created. Unless I'm forgetting exactly how dot matrix works. Or the dot product, I'm sorry. I'm referencing Spaceballs. I'm sorry. But yeah, dot product of these two vectors. Very complicated thing. I'd never known about this before. It's the difference between the two angles of these vectors. Okay, so let's say the car is going forward. It'll come out to 90. And then I'm subtracting 90. Boom. Then it's 0. Then the car is just going forward, which means that it is not greater than 45. It's false, and it goes through and it checks to see if it is less than negative 45, which it is also not. Since it is false, then we go here. I see. So both of these are checking for extremes. Because if it's greater than 45 degrees or less than 45 degrees, then the car's not tilting. It's straight up going up like a ramp. Right? Let me think of that scenario. So the distance between the cars, between the two angles... So if this is the ground, the car would have to be facing that way. The car would have to be tilted up 45 degrees. And in that case, I tell it to punch upwards with Force Z? Why would I do that? What? Previous me, what are you doing? That doesn't make any sense. This makes sense. This top part I don't get at all. Because in both instances where I have reached an extreme of negative 45 or 45, I was originally telling it, just punch that thing up super high. But that's not what I want to do at all. I want to turn this one off. I don't think I need this one. It's this one that's activating. Okay. We'll see if past me had a point. Now let's go through this. Okay, we haven't hit either extreme. Blah, blah, blah. We're adding our force. So now we have to calculate the location that we are applying it, which is just where the suspension component is, and then the force itself. Spaghetti code, yeah. My god, it really is. I don't know what past me was thinking. And this is why commenting is so important. Because if someone else comes in after you, or you need to review your own code, you need to be able to find this stuff super easily. Like, check out what I did. First thing I did when I came back to this was I labeled everything and put them into categories and made it nice and neat. Because now I know, oh, these are the things that happen every tick. This is the camera stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Just good, it's good manners. Oh my god, look at this. Oh my god, it's a nightmare. Oh my god. What a disaster. Why is there a jump? Oh, yeah. So I don't know if I mentioned this, but I want to create kind of like a jumping system in the game. Kind of like Rocket League. and maybe even a double jump, like Rocket League. So jump up, boom, and then go in the direction you want to go. Because I feel like that's a very fun feature for a racing game that would make things super interesting. So that's why I have a jump feature. Because I don't want this to be a standard racing game. I want it to be an arcade-style racing game where it's more fun than realistic. Okay, so I'm actually going to start breaking this apart right now. Make a map maker, you should make that toggleable. Yeah, I like that idea. Like anti-jump stages. We could do that. Ah, that's a great idea. I like that idea. So some stages you can't rely on jumps. You have to do regular racing. Alright, I am just going to move these over here. And we're going to comment this out. God dang it, what was the button? Can't remember. Okay, this is the... Hold on. This is the line draw and collision detection. And then show bubble at any point. So basically this is drawing the line, and then I detect what those lines and touching it is. Normal racetracks. I agree, yeah. The more control you give the people in creative, the more fun it is. That's a great option. I'm gonna write that down before I forget. Checklist? No, not a checklist. No, I guess, yeah. Create, anti-jump feature or stage element for, I guess just, yeah. Since that'll be game-wide. Cool, I like that. That's a really good idea. Because you could get really crazy, you could have like really obstacle course type stuff, or you could just go straight up like Trackmania and just have you just zoom everywhere. You know, that's something I always thought was lacking in Trackmania. And when you look at it, Trackmania has the most amazing courses, but they all look the same. They really do. You know, you've seen one Trackmania course, you've kind of seen them all. And some of them are really nice. And granted, I'm not a Trackmania thing, but it really, I think Trackmania really lacked on aesthetics. And then its mechanics started to go bad. So things just got weird. It's a racing game and a kind of realistic one. That's true. That is what they were going for. And it did work, so... Okay, so I've set aside that. What is this nonsense? Get physics linear velocity at point? Add force at location. None of this is actually firing off. Do you want to look at the custom levels? Do you want to look at the custom levels? Oh, I've looked at the custom levels. I just saw the video of the... God dang it, what was it called? It was like a track that technically only takes 10 minutes to complete, but every segment of it takes hours because you have to be perfect to get it just right, because you have to maintain full speed throughout the full thing. And there's only one guy who's managed to get through the whole thing without having to start over through a checkpoint. That was a video I watched. Add force at location. You know, I'm not entirely sure what these are, but I did... Oh my god, I do remember these! Oh, this is my original wheel mechanics! This is where it started. This is how I started my whole system, was creating these wheels. Because I had wheel velocities, I had friction, I had move force, and then I abandoned it because I liked the hover stuff so much more. But I didn't have the heart to destroy it because I worked so hard on it, and I might return to it someday. Holy crap. Well, here we are. Someday. I don't know if it'll return to this. But now I know what this spaghetti code actually is. I can label it properly. Wow. That's actually crazy that I have that code after all these years. Okay, because what this code relied on was utilizing friction and calculating how the car should move. Based on the friction of the wheels. The problem I found was that using friction, which is like every vehicle system, is like, it made it impossible to control all of the side forces, which again is why I abandoned it. Wheel, friction controls. We're gonna call this, not outdated, not in use. Because you never know. I might come back to this someday, but for now, I could just put that aside. Unused, yeah. That's shorter. Let's go with that. Unused. Perfect. Okay. Someday we might come back to that. Most likely not. It is what it is. Oh, it's so much nicer. Okay, back to this. Okay, so then we have the hover delta, which is a simple enough thing. And then the compression ratio, which is also simple. So I'll put these together and say calculate make this nice and neat. Nice. Okay. So this section, hold on, I know there's a shortcut for this. Maybe make the suspension type toggleable between friction and spring. Toggleable. So basically change the way the car drives. That's ambitious. That's very ambitious, I'm not gonna lie. Because people might prefer friction force versus arcade controls. Oh, I don't know though. That's a very complex feature to include. Because you would have to design the entire system to work around both. But I can't deny, right now, I'm really missing the whole wheel aspect of, you know, the collision with the ground. I'll tell you what, I won't make that a priority, but I will create a task to say, Evaluate wheel friction system. And investigate whether toggleable option is feasible. Because we've come a long way since I first created that system, so maybe all the problems that I was running into have been solved by better features. So maybe it would be just another way of doing it. But for now, I'm going to stick with the controls I have. And then just go from there. We'll build off of that if needed. Unreal Engine comment shortcut. See? Really? That's it? Well, hot damn. Okay. Okay, calculate compression ratio. Okay. And this is important. This is one of my most important blueprints, so I have to organize this. Okay. I'm going to raise this up. Comment this out. And call it calculate angle of suspension force. Okay, that'll do. And down here, I don't need this one anymore. Well, actually, I won't disable that for now. This whole section is to calculate the force. Force is always with you, they say. Oh, I made one up there. Oh, crap. There we go. Okay. Should be a little better. This will be calculate suspension force and direction. No. No, that's right, yeah. Well, not the search bar, the name. Thank you. Calculate suspension force and direction. Okay. Now this won't be such a freaking crap show. I can make sense of this. And then we just check the variables and then we apply the force. We'll probably put this in here. Yeah. Come on. The more straight lines you have, the better it looks. That'll do for now. I This one's not going to be active, but I think it's important that I keep it just in case. These need to be moved. This is a whole nother system I was trying to use to put constraints on the suspension force, but that's dumb. I can do that myself by just turning them into variables. Might need it later though. So constraint suspension forces unused is currently not firing off, and for good damn reason. What a mess. And last but not least, check parent vehicle and apply suspension force. Okay. So now that we've got that all organized, now we can talk about changing the actual force down here. So we're going to take the previous hover delta we're going to take our new hover delta, and basically we're checking how much has the suspension changed between frames. Has it increased? Has it decreased? Whatever it is, account for frame rate here, and then multiply it by the damping coefficient. So basically, my idea was to slow this sucker down with a coefficient, and the stronger the coefficient was, the more it would be slowed down. So this is the variable I need to use to create resistance. What coding type does Unreal Engine use? C++. So if you go into the code, it's all C++. But the best part about it is that you don't need to know C++ to use Unreal because of the node system. It's basic logic. All you need to learn is what nodes do what. And then you can apply it to anything. So basically, what's a good example? Down here. So event tick. This goes off every second. Okay, what do you want me to do every second? I want you to check is valid. I want you to check to see if this sphere trace, I want you to draw a line shaped like a sphere, and I want to see if it's hitting anything. And I want you to get the location. I want you to get the up vector. I want you to take this variable I made, multiply them by each other, then take those vectors and then feed that into my line trace, and then a whole bunch of other stuff. So learning Unreal's node design is so brilliant because it makes it the floor so much lower for anyone to get in. Exactly, yeah, it's so much simpler because you can add custom codes if you want, but for the most part, all you need to do is stick with the nodes, and it'll just take care of everything for you. And that's the brilliance of Unreal Engine, and why I feel it's the superior engine. One of the reasons. Okay. So let's take the damping coefficient, and we're going to increase this by a factor of 10. Let's see if that fixes the problem. Whoa! My car just became very bouncy for some reason. What? There it goes again. Oh my god. Why did that happen? What? What? Way of the car? Let's see. I think the default is like 200. I think I left it at default. Because I wanted to control the car not through physics, but through custom code. Mass, kilograms, 100. Okay. That's what it's at. But it's the suspension component that's doing that. The hell? Let's try that again. That was the damping coefficient. What? Wait. The damping coefficient is supposed to slow it down, not increase it. Oh, I know why. Look at this. It's a multiply node, not a divide. Oh, what a oh. What a mistake. Oh, I need to divide. I need to divide by the damping coefficient. Bale jar? Sure, why not? Oh, my god. Okay, so we'll just delete that. We copy this. We can. Okay. So we want to divide by the damping coefficient and then feed it in there. At which point it is then divided by the spring coefficient and the compression ratio. I think I might stick with Unity for the time being. There are no plans of making massive games on it. And that's totally fair. Unity is still a very good tool. So I totally understand why people still want to use it. It is a powerful tool. It does what it's designed to do. Whew. Okay, so let me just make sure. What I really should do is turn this into a variable. And feed it that way. Because I don't like the way this is coming out. Okay, the problem is it has to be a vector. So I have to feed it as such. Okay, but what I feed into it doesn't have to stop there. Okay, so let's just move all these back. And we are going to set suspension distance, the variable I just created. Oh. Okay, this is only going to fire off if this occurs. Oh, that's ugly. Oh, that's ugly. I hate you. I hate you. Okay. Let's get this out of here. I hate this. Okay. So, we're going to set the suspension distance and feed that in. Okay, so now we have a controlled variable that we are controlling. So we can see the value of it whenever we need to. What? Oh, right. Okay, so we just need to move this over. Still a bit awkward. How do I make this look good? I think I need to put these up here. Beat the location, beat the force. Have this just down here. Jesus! Scared the crap out of me. I am focusing really hard on this. Legit wishes for a custom command! Interesting. What would you like me to do? Get this blue. Down here, just so it looks good. Good. Megalovania? Uh-oh. I am scared. This could mean any number of things. Okay. Cool, I'm happy with that. Shrink that up. Make this look nice. And we're good. Oh, this is a disaster. Two branching paths. That'll work. Okay. Alright, why did I do all this? YouTube has a cap on characters? It does, yes! If you want to put it in the Discord, that'll work too. Whichever's easier. Wow. Okay, so we just divided our value of suspension force to make it 450 less instead of 450 bigger. So we're going to have to do some adjustments regardless. I'm also going to need it to do a little something for me. I need it to print string. I need it to give me the value of suspension distance so I can check to see if it's correct and useful. Alright, let's see if that works. I think something went wrong. I springboarded so hard I literally broke through the skybox. Oh my god. I actually springboarded him so hard he broke through this skybox. That shouldn't be possible. Anyway, can bots send commands over the character limits? No, unfortunately. It will not. Oh, okay, so clearly I increased the value somehow. So damping coefficient is 450. so confused now. How did lowering the number make it spring harder? So let me think. I've got the distance between our two hovers. I divide that for frame rate. I then divide by the damping coefficient. In this case, 450. So it's a small number. We then take another number, the spring coefficient, which is currently the value of 3000. That's how springy I want it to be. The compression ratio, which we just calculated, could be like 30%. Let's say 50% for posterity. The spring coefficient is multiplied by the hover delta, the current hover delta, and then multiplied again by the compression ratio. So I'm taking the distance and the spring coefficient. I'm basically creating, okay, 3000 times that distance, compress it by the ratio, which in this case is hover delta divided by suspension distance. Damn it, I created a redundancy. I actually created a redundancy. For my math skills, I sometimes miss the most obvious things. Okay, so what do I mean? So I calculated compression ratio. Bots can run commands, yes. If you program them right, they can run commands. Especially if I code them through what's it called? Streambot? Yeah, StreamerBot. That's made for stuff like that. So I took the compression ratio is calculated by taking the hover delta and dividing by the suspension distance. Then guess what? I take that same ratio and multiply it by the hover delta. Which essentially means this whole step was pointless. Why would I do that? So, and then I multiply it by the compression ratio, which is hover delta over... I gotta write this out on a piece of paper, or I'm going to confuse myself. Screw it, I'll use a Google Sheet. I have totally failed on this physics here. Okay. Idea which having bot chain command 10 commands is probably just spam chat. Oh yeah, that would be too much. Sorry. I mean, a bot chain is funny, but if it turns into spam, not so much. Though if you could do it for points, that'd be another matter. But I haven't set that up yet, so. Okay, so compression ratio equals hover delta divided by suspension distance. I then multiply the hover delta You want the output to be a command just so it spams endlessly? Hell no. Hell to the no. Suspension force is equal to hover delta minus previous hover delta divided by world delta seconds, and then all of that divided by the damping coefficient, And all of that divided by the hover delta times the spring coefficient times the compression ratio. Alright, I've got it all written out. I've wrapped my head around it. 185 snipers on 102, which are supply drops. Too many! Okay. So basically, I can turn this into compression ratio into hover delta divided by suspension distance. What you mean, not enough? I guess you're right. What was I thinking? I did create a redundancy, because the hover deltas cancel each other out. Oh my god. Sorry guys, I'm just doing math in my head, because this is no good. I just need to make sure I'm not doing a redundancy with the hover delta with my calculation. So the bottom of this becomes HD squared over SD times SC. SD. Yeah. Huh. Oh, God. I really do need a piece of paper. I need scratch paper right now. It's going to drive me wild. Normal paper. I just need normal paper. Yes. Okay. Any surface to write on? You'll do. Okay. So. SF equals HD minus PhD divided by world delta seconds, which is being divided by damping coefficient. And that whole thing... Oh, someone wants a new hat from me. The fish? No, not Joffrey! I thought you all had finally forgotten him. Where's Joffrey? Joffrey? He's in the cabinet. Hold on. Let me finish writing this down before I forget. That's the way this is written out. Yeah, pretty sure. I don't know though. Alright, Joffrey. I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but you're back. So I must gather ye, put ye back on me head. God, I put everything in the plate to make this as difficult as possible. Oh, there he is. First of the day, my dad bought this for me to help me with the stream. All right. There he is! The Joffrey! Ah. Even in a game development stream, I can't escape him. Ah. Okay, so, back to the work. So I have this equation. I doubt you can see this. Basically, I'm just trying to figure out if I put in one too many HDs. I think I did, so let's do this. But I think I'm good because I don't think we're actually using the hover delta in the way I think I am. So if I break that down into fractions, it becomes HD minus PhD over a whole bunch of crap. Yes, times DC times HD squared C. SD HD minus SD HD. Okay, so yeah, it's not redundant. Cool! Math still works! Don't have to fix the equation. The equation still is valid. It's just too damn big. Okay. So, obviously, everything went horribly wrong. So before I was multiplying by 450, and it was just barely balanced, if a little strong. Then I divide by 450, and it becomes massively bigger. Why? $3,000 times whatever the compression ratio is, like probably like 50%. That'd be halved to maybe 1,500, multiplied by the hover delta. Could be anywhere in the hundreds. This bottom part is a pretty big number. And the top part is going to be a very small number. So when you take a small number and divide it by a large number, it becomes a pretty teeny number. I'm sorry, I have to do it again. I have to see what the actual value is. Okay, I need the duration to be much longer. 20 seconds, please. Okay. God, look how big it is. It got up to billion, trillion, 459 quadrillion units. That's how high that number got. How the hell did it get that high? That actually doesn't make sense to me. 459 quadrillion. I don't get it. I take the coefficient and I divide by 450. It should be a lot smaller, right? Maybe I need to create some pseudo variables just to know where this is all going wrong. Okay, we're gonna create a new variable. We have way too many variables in here. You're going. Yeah, it's bad. We're gonna call this hover delta divided by hover delta divided by delta seconds. That is straight up just what that float is. We're going to set it here. We're going to get a little messy with this, but I'm just doing some checking right now. And so we're going to give me that number. I'm going to print another string. Okay. We're going to make this color pink. Oh no, come on. Okay, so we can differentiate them. And then we're going to grab this number. So new variable. We're going to call this hover delta times spring coefficient times the compression ratio. Spring by compression by hover delta. I don't know how else to do that. Alright, we're going to set this one. I need to observe these variables in real time. Print string. Don't worry, I'll remove all this after the fact. This is just for problem solving right now. Okay, this should be good enough for now. This will be yellow. Make sure both durations are up there for a while so I can see them. And we'll figure out where the giganticness is coming from. Because I know every other part of this. I know the damping coefficient, and this is just calculating them by each other. And then the up vector. So, the army's complete. A giant mass of 200, 240 snipers, 1250 sniper, 1502, and 1205. 200 snipers. Sounds like a good day. Okay, compile. Should work. Right, let's watch the variables. Boom. Alright, so yellow was 0. Pink was freaking massive. So yellow is always 0? So the spring by compression by hover delta... No, I forgot to set it. I'm sorry. Sorry, guys. Okay, but that just proves that the pink, this number is freaking huge. The hover delta by delta seconds. Why is it so big? It takes the hover delta, minuses the previous hover delta, and then divides by the world delta seconds, which is just adjusting for the frame rate. Let's see how yellow looks. Yellow is equally massive. If anything, it's bigger than pink. These numbers are huge, dude. Why are they so big? Hold on, I'm gonna do another print string. We're gonna have the compression ratio, which is how we calculate this, also show up. This one will be red. Because if the ratio's not doing what I want it to, ratio is 1. Duration becomes fully compressed. .0. It's fully compressed. So it doesn't do anything to dampen the hover delta. But does that mean that the hover delta is in fact huge? One last check. Hover delta. We will make this one white. If the hover delta is huge, that explains everything. I think I know why that's happening. Compiled. Wow. The hover delta is freaking huge. You should add time travel to your game. Why is this even happening? Okay, so here's the thing. The springs are supposed to bounce a little when the car hits the ground. Right? It's supposed to be a bit bouncy. I created a spring-like feature that would do that. And it's basically how the car collides with the ground, like with tires. I think I was planning something else for it. This is just how it turned out. But the thing is, when it hits the ground, the spring is going from completely uncompressed to fully compressed in a second. And because the previous hover delta divided by suspension distance. long is the suspension distance? 120. Where does the hover delta come from? The suspension distance minus the distance. So, let's put this in our head. Trace distance is the full distance of the laser. The distance is the distance from the trace start to the location where it collides. So if it hits the ground, this distance is now the chunk of laser that is still remaining. So, I then take the suspension distance, which is 120, and I subtract that amount from 120. And that gives me the hover delta. $120 minus whatever that distance is. It cannot be setting it that high. That makes no sense. The hover delta. Okay, so the suspension distance is how far do I want the car to move. In this case, I chose 120 units. Because I figured the distance between the length of the wheel was how much I wanted to compress, right? So the diameter of the wheel is 120. So I chose 120 to be the suspension distance. It was probably too big to begin with, but it creates kind of that springy car look. So 120 minus whatever the delta, no, minus whatever the trace distance is what the hover delta is. So why am I getting such a massively huge result? I am getting a massive number. The white number. How am I getting such a massive number? I don't get it. I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna lower this. So it's not falling so far. Whoa, careful. What is this view? Get out of here. See how far it could go? No, I'm trying to turn it down. God. It's still just... As soon as it touched the ground, it just went ape. I gotta reverse this. So, what I did before was I turned this from a multiplication into a division, but apparently that's what we needed to do? That's addition. Wait. Oh my god, that is addition. Oh. I thought that was division. But these are clearly different things. Oh my god. What does that mean? What happened? So why did that throw it off so badly? Hold on. Okay. So I thought this was division, copied it, put it over here, and that screwed the system. Okay, so I just get rid of that. We're putting in a multiplication as we were. Yeah, that's definitely a fail jar. How were you able to do that? Oh, I was using the wrong command. Can't worry about that right now. So I multiply these results, and then they're added together. It still doesn't make sense, though. So this is as it was before. It should work normally. Or maybe not. Oh my god, it's even worse now. It's going even faster! Oh, okay. Something has gone horribly wrong here. Do I need to undo all this until I get it back to where it was? I don't want to undo all my work. I don't know. Okay, I changed something. But that's what it was at before. This was multiplication before. This is how I found it. Supposedly. Oh, I have no choice. I have to undo until we get back to where we were. Freaking frick. Okay. Thank God Unreal has this feature. Okay. Keep going. Oh, all the movements I did too. There. Okay. This is where we were. Should work. If it doesn't, I'm gonna lose my mind. Okay, thank God. So clearly something... I must have messed with something when I was moving stuff around. Okay. So let's keep things simple, shall we? Hover delta comes in. It's massive. Gets multiplied by the spring coefficient. Becomes even bigger. Gets multiplied by the ratio. Gets smaller. It is added to the difference in hover deltas, which is divided by seconds, which could be a pretty big number. It's multiplied by the damping coefficient, so it becomes even bigger. These two big numbers are added to each other, and then they're multiplied into a vector. Let me see what that vector equals when everything's said and done. Probably should have started there. Okay. Run it. Alright, so that's the vector we're looking at. Clearly, it's freaking out. Why is it so wobbly? That's what we're actually trying to figure out, Penguin. The theory I've come up with for the teeter-totter, as I've labeled it, is that because the front side or the back side, if one of them goes down, the other one comes up. But this one wants to spring back up, so it forces this one down. And then this one wants to spring back up. And because they're both trying to fight each other, it creates a feedback loop till they go back and forth. Because their compression forces are strong enough to do so. I was trying to weaken that force, and then everything went to hell. So, let's decrease this by a factor of 10. See what happens. Oh my god, I remember now. That's why I created that coefficient. Okay. Analyzing the situation. The damping coefficient makes it so that the spring is not as springy. The greater the damping coefficient is, slower this goes. But if you make it too high, then it just pew, flies into the air. Oh my god. What a line I have created here. Okay. I'm still not wrapping my head around how this is working, how I set this up. But instead of increasing by a factor of 10, we're just going to increase it by 50 at a time and see if that helps. Nope. You know what? I don't think this is the variable to mess with. I think the spring coefficient is the variable we need to weaken. Because that's the thing that's giving it its springy force. Okay. This will certainly cause revolution. Okay. So now the box is just dragging on the ground. So it's too weak. It's got to be strong enough to keep the box off the ground. Ah, and it's not fixing my issue! I'm so frustrated, guys. I don't know how to edit this. Stupid spring system. Why'd I have to... Why did I make it like this? I don't get it. Let me think. Is tearing down the system now would be a bad idea. How do we salvage this? Somehow I've created a system that is extremely sensitive. Like, oh my god, it's so sensitive. I don't get it. I don't get this either. I forget which one led to it. I honestly don't know what to do. How can it be this sensitive? I don't understand. I need the hover delta. I need to figure out why this thing is so huge. So instead of the vector, which is honestly kind of useless information, we need to figure out why the hover delta is so big. It's not! Look at it! It's not even above 100. Wait, so... It's not a huge number? So why was it so huge before? Anyone want to explain that to me? It's because I fell a huge distance. That has to be it. The reason hover delta was so big has to be related to how far the boxcar fell. No, it was a tiny number. It didn't go over 100 once. God dang it, 301. I know the bot's running. Stop telling me. It's like it keeps losing connection or something. Yeah, look at that. Tiny numbers. But you see how far he bounced? He should not bounce like that. Wow. We were going to go into aerials today, guys, but this is a much bigger problem. This is all wrong. This is all wrong. Oh, okay. honestly don't know if this is like the cure to my problem, but I'm willing to try anything. Okay. Okay, just face through the ground. Don't blame me, blame Synthwave. I'm listening to lo-fi right now. Here, I'll go to a different point in stream. Okay. So the hover delta never goes above 100. Why did it before? Mission distance was always 120. The hover delta was set by suspension distance minus the regular distance. Okay, so our biggest problem right now, Bunny, is the car is jittering. I'm calling it the teeter-totter problem. Like so. This is a direct result of the whole spring system. I'm trying to figure out why it's doing that. Well, I think I know why it's doing it. I'm trying to figure out how to stop it. But it's ballooned into the whole fix the suspension system. So that's what we've been covering this whole time. Man, we hit some real weird problems. Like, I tried to decrease the ratio, and it sent my car careening into the atmosphere. This thing is so sensitive. I'm trying to figure out why it is. Does it tilt? Yeah, so I don't know what's instigating it, but I think even the tiniest force on one side of the car is, you know, pushing it up, but because the suspensions are connected to each other, that's causing the other side to go down, which makes it compress, which makes it push back up, which then compresses the other side, so it pushes back up, and then just creates a feedback loop, so it does the jitter. I had a function called pitch shift, which froze pitching for the car. I had to get rid of that because it was ruining our ability to climb ramps and other curved surfaces. Which means we're now back to this issue. Maybe you should have the springs be incomplete. What do you mean by that? It shouldn't recoil with 100% force. Right, I need to weaken the force of the compression, which is what I was trying to do, but for some damn reason everything went to hell. Okay, so we gotta try again. This is where all the calculation happens. Okay, so hover delta comes in, it's below 100. We minus the previous hover delta, which is somewhere between 0 and 100. That number is then divided by world delta seconds to apply for frame rate. Project file myself. Well, you know what? I would be willing to create a copy and share it in game development Discord. I would be happy to get help with that. That way we can have version controls and see, you know, if we can get a damn fix in there. Because I've already got several different versions saved. So, but yeah, not this stream. Not for now. That's a good idea. I like that. Okay, so then we take that number, which is even smaller than 100, and we multiply it by the damping coefficient. Now, this is the first part I don't understand. The damping coefficient is meant to weaken the force of the spring. So I assumed it would be below 1, but it's 450. So whatever number we have, we are making it probably in the thousands, probably tens of thousands, possibly. We're then calculating another number. We're taking the hover delta. We're multiplying it by the spring coefficient, which is 3,000. This is how hard the spring is supposed to spring. So this will raise it by at least a factor of 10, so it'll be around 30,000. This number is then multiplied by the compression ratio, which I calculate back here by taking the hover delta and dividing it by the suspension distance, which I set to 120 because that's the diameter of the wheel. So hover delta being, let's say 100, divided by 120, it's going to be less than 1. And then I clamp that value. It can only be between 0 and 1. The ratio must be between 0 and 1. So if it maxes out at 1, so be it. But it can't be any lower than 0. So that's set. Oh, you know what? I'm calculating the compression ratio after hover delta is set. Oh, no, that's right. Because these don't get calculated until this step, so we're fine. Okay. So, compression ratio at max is 1. So it's either 100%, 50%, or whatever. It's multiplied by like 30,000. It becomes some fraction of that. Still pretty big. I assume it's still in the tens of thousands or thousands. That number is then added to this number, which is also in the hundreds and thousands. So it becomes a pretty big number. That is then multiplied by the up vector. So it takes where the suspension component and points it straight up. And I multiply the big number by that up vector, and then I feed that directly into the add force at location. Oh, maybe you should multiply the compression ratio by a factor. Basically, gaslight the springs to being softer than the actual required force. Yeah, and that's what I thought I was doing, but as soon as I changed one of the variables, it turned into... the values became as big as 450 quadrillion, which is like, how did that even happen? Because somehow the hover delta got turned into this massively huge number. I'm still trying to figure out how that happened, but now that we're back to starting line, let's do that. Let's try again. I still don't understand my logic here. So I'm taking the hover delta, the distance that the spring has been compressed. I'm multiplying that by how powerful I want the spring to be. Why am I multiplying it by the hover delta? God, I don't know. I built this whole system off of a tutorial, and I cannot remember for the life of me how it works. So that's a big problem. Big problem. So damn. Try disconnecting the hover delta. Yeah. One thing at a time, right? Let's just one thing at a time. Let's see what works. Alright, so technically this should be just the same system. It's just a lot weaker. Because the hover delta is not being multiplied by it. Right? Of course, that means that it's not strong enough to lift the car. I don't think we'll get any jitter, but for other reasons. And there's no friction either, so that's not a factor. Okay. So let's multiply it by a hard number. And see what's a big enough number to get what I want. Because hover delta is around 89 right now. Whoa, my bad. Oh, I'm getting the jitter. Man, as soon as I get any distance, the jitter happens. Okay, so that's not gonna help. Alright, let's disconnect the damping coefficient. So this is where things went horribly wrong last time. Okay. So this is the weird part I don't quite understand. I've disconnected the damping coefficient, so now it's extremely bouncy. So why does that happen? I've made the number smaller so it bounces more? I mean, it's probably not as strong of a force, but the damping appears to slow it down. So it's like the damping, whatever this number turns out to be, slows it down. But why? It might have to do something with the distance. Okay, hold on. Float. Single precision. The distance from the trace star to location in world space. This value is 0 if there's an initial overlap. The springs are recoiling at 100% effort, meaning the car jumps up with as much force as it comes down with. So when I multiply that top force by 450, I am decreasing the amount of percent that it recoils with. Because all these are just numbers. I'm just trying to figure out how that plays into the final force, you know? Like, how does this logic come together? Because these are being added. They're just being added to each other. They're just floats. They're just numbers. There's no vector information. There's no location information. So how is that creating that effect? Okay, so I get it, actually. If this is the damping coefficient, and I go too far with it because it's a multiplication and not a ratio, that means that if I push it too far, I'm actually creating a negative ratio, supposedly. I still don't know how the math adds up. But if you push at it with a recoil with -5%, it's going to spring in the opposite direction, which obviously shouldn't be possible. Which is probably why we have so much bonkers crap going on. So I'm just trying to wrap my head around where what the number value is at each step in the process. We know the hover delta at all times. Now I need to know what this is at all times. Because I still don't get it. I still don't get what the values of these numbers are at every step. So I'm just going to go ahead and feed in this and see what the number equals. I gotta get the math. Whoa. What? But I reconnected it. Everything should be as it was. Should be, right? Pretty sure. Is that just a fluke? Hey, that number is becoming negative. And remember, this is 4 different suspension components. Okay, so this value can become negative. Oh! That's why it's going to hell. Because if it's negative, we multiply it by the coefficient, it becomes a massively negative number. And then if you add it to the spring coefficient and it's bigger than the spring coefficient, it becomes a negative number that's fed into the up vector. So instead of springing up, it springs down, which is why I'm facing through the damn ground. Okay, so there is a problem with the logic. It can't be negative. But here's the thing. The previous hover delta is where it was before. If the spring is coming back up, it is going to be a negative distance. So maybe I just take the absolute value of that distance. Yeah, let's do that. Because whatever it is, it cannot end up as negative, or we're going down, son. Because that could destroy the whole thing. Ooh, that might have been the missing link. Okay, so no matter what happens, it's now an absolute value. We just want the distance between the 2 hover deltas. Okay. It's not phasing through the ground anymore. Oh, but I'm still getting negatives. How is that possible? Oh, right. Because I'm feeding from before it did the absolute value. Alright, so what's happening now? It's recoiling with the force that I fell with. But not all of it. I think I'm falling... I'm going up a shorter and shorter distance each time. I think I'm losing height. I think. I'm not sure. Put the car lower. Yeah. Oh, but I want to fix this issue too. I mean, if I drop a car from a distance, I don't want it to become a bouncy ball. I guess I got 2 different issues. But yeah, you're right. Let's just try the teeter-totter for now. Boxcar. Too low. Where's the car? Oh. It's smaller than I thought. Camera's too fast. Small distance. Still bounced a couple times. Oh. Oh. No, that's the teeter-totter at work. Okay. So I'm thinking, rather than this value being absolute, I think it's this one that I need to be absolute. Because... try my idea from a second ago. Set the value to 0 if it goes negative. Yeah, I'm wondering which is the better solution. The absolute value or setting it to 0. Because I'm not actually sure which is better for the logic. Right? Okay. Alright, let's see if that holds. It's still jittering a little bit. Oh, crap. Whoa, whoa! This car is super bouncy. Whoa, yeah. Really bouncy car. But I don't think it's jittering. Hard to tell, honestly. Oh no, it's jittering. I see it. Still jittering. God dang it. Ah! Try dropping from height. If this doesn't work... 360? Okay. Play. So it should be super bouncy. Yeah. Don't know what happened there. Alright, so let's do the opposite thing. Instead of making an absolute, we're going to do a test. Clamp. Cannot be below 0. And the max value... oh, wow. I don't know what the max value should be. Okay, it can't be negative. I have made it so that the system cannot be negative on any of the suspension components. Yeah, the max is way too low. Oh, I clipped myself below the map. Sorry about that. I want to see if the jitteriness is still happening. I don't think it is. Huh. Maybe the clamp was the solution. Forcing it between two values so it doesn't go frickin' crazy no matter what my calculation. Ooh. Ooh. Me likey. Okay, now let's raise the max. I don't know, 1,000. Because we want it to bounce a little. Like, that was good. That was the bounciness of the car. Right. Whoop. Okay. I'm wondering... 5,000. The bounciness was good. The height obviously still is weird. Maybe if I increase the suspension distance, I can fix that without losing the bounciness. We'll come back to that. Yeah, I'm not seeing any teeter-tottering at all. It looks great. I'm not seeing bounciness whatsoever. But I think that's just because the boxcar is in the ground. Let's see what happens when it's actually floating above the ground. That's the real test. I shouldn't get my hopes up. Okay, it's above the ground. Whoa. The car pitched forward. It never does that. Oh my god. Hey! 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 I've never gotten my car to do that. I've never gotten it to naturally pitch before. Because it always just dragged into the ground and flipped it. If I make it so that's not negative, it doesn't bounce back. So it just does what it's told. It just compresses. And then it just goes back to normal. That's really nice. Okay, it's staying there. It's not creating a problem. Okay. So this is a byproduct of the springs not resisting. Ooh, ooh. Yo, I like this. Now if I just put a constant clamp on how far the car can pitch forward and backwards, our system's working. Alright, let's jump. Good. Now let's climb a ramp. Oh, buddy. Oh, buddy. Having trouble going over small distances, though. But that's just because of the car's pitching so much forward. Should we... Let's see what happens if we increase it even more. Let's be ridiculous. 500,000. What happens? Okay, that increases the bounciness. Oh, and it increased the stiffness, too. Interesting. So, increasing the number has two effects. It's jittering again. I pushed it too far. Oh, there's a threshold. The number is not just the bounciness, it's the stiffness of the springs. And if they're super stiff, they're going to want to bounce back super hard. So if it's too high, it'll bounce back, which is why it's bouncy in the first place. They're extremely stiff but powerful springs. Oh my god. That's awesome. That means all I have to do is find a strong enough threshold that I get what I want without going bonkers. Alright, let's try 100,000, see if that's too much. Because 50,000 was the number we liked. Okay, that was a solid bounciness. That's a good stiffness. Could be a little less stiff. Could pitch a little more. Wow, I might not even have had to clamp the pitch. Is it jittering? Did I see jitter? Slight but not a hard tilt. I think it's jittering ever so slightly. I think it's just a tiny bit too high. Yep, it's definitely jittering. Very slightly. So this is too much. Okay, so 50,000 is the minimum. Let's try 75,000. Does jitter at speed, yeah. Okay, let's try this number. Acceptable bounciness. Saw a little jitter. Seeing the jitter again. Yep, it's definitely jittering. It's not tilting very much either. Yeah, there's definitely a threshold of some sort. That, like, we cross and it just starts to fight itself. So let's do 60,000. Because tilting is good. It makes it look natural. But we don't want it to tilt back and forth. And I think I see just the tiniest bit of jitter. Maybe not. Maybe I'm seeing things. Going over bumps just fine. Yeah, that's not half bad. I'd say this is a good top number. 50k may just be our number and we clamp the tilt. I think you might be right. Because I'm not getting any tilt here, which is shockingly close to 50k. Okay, so 60k is an acceptable number. But I do want to see if we can get just that tiny bit of threshold. Hey, Purple Biscuit, how's it going? That's right, it's a soapbox car. The Boxcar 2.0. Oh, there it is. There's that tilt. Okay, so yeah, I think there's a threshold for this as well. Oh, it's not tilting back. Ooh, interesting. Tilts a little bit. Okay, yeah, when I got enough speed, it tilts all the way. Which makes sense. And it's tilting back because it's slowed down, I think. No, actually I'm speeding up and it tilted back. Interesting. So it's not doing what I thought it was doing. The tilt down is what caused it to not jitter. Oh god, I think you're right. Going 2 hours away for a funeral? Oh, well, that's a sad occasion. Hope you guys have a good celebration of life, at least. God, that makes sense. Yeah, the tilt is causing it not to jitter. Huh. Applies a stronger force in the back than the front, rather than equal forces counter each other. Damn, you're right. I'm gonna see if there's like a sweet spot I can hit. Okay, so what we're doing, Biscuit, right now is we're trying to test the springiness of the car tires to make it so that the car bounces just right, doesn't bounce too much, and that it doesn't tilt back and forth like a teeter-totter, because it would be bouncy on both ends. We're trying to make sure that it doesn't do that. And if there is jitter, I would want it to be as... If we can't get away from it, I need it to be so small that it wouldn't cause an issue. And yeah, we're just basically fixing the suspension on a make-believe car. Yeah, I don't see any jitter at all at this force. 57k. 56k is where we tilted. 57K, we're not tilting. Wow, it's really that small of a threshold, huh? Difference of 1,000. Yeah, we just don't want it to be shaken like a rag doll. Okay. I think I see it jittering. Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure I see it going back and forth ever so slightly. Yep, there it is. Okay. So 5, 6, 500. What a number we're figuring out here. Oh my god. Okay, we've already determined that the bounce is perfectly solid at this rate. Okay, so this makes the car tilt. Oh, whoop. Hit the ramps. Okay, and once the tilt hits the ground, just whoop, bounces back up. That's a weird effect. I don't know why it's doing that specifically. Probably figure this out algebraically, but who cares about math? Yeah, screw math! We do things practically. Did I phase into the ramp? I did. Thank God I have a debug just for that. Okay, so yeah, that's tilting. Yeah, we don't want it going into the floor. So 5, 6, 500 is too light. It's better to tilt too hard than not enough. Yeah, man, if I could just find that number and see what the hell's going on. Oh, here we go. Tilts away. Is it jittering? I could have sworn I saw it jittering. Very hard to tell. Okay, so it tilts, then it goes back up for some reason. Yep, there it is. Woo! Oh, good night, Biscuit. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, so we found the threshold where it is still tilting, but it's still jittering too. Okay, so what I think you said earlier was right. I think we need to clamp the tilt. Because if it's locked on a tilt, maybe it'll stop it from jittering in the first place. But I also don't want it bouncing back. That's a weird little thing that's been happening. Now, let's see what 600 does. Only number between the two. Okay, this is tilting. And then it bounces back for some reason. And then it tilts, or jitters. Yeah, so long as it's not tilting, it's jittering a little bit. And I think that's just natural physics, right? Of two springs on both sides. I don't think we could really fix that. I think the tilt being bounced back is a sign of it being too high. You know what? I agree. Let's go back down to 56,500 and see if it's doing the bounce back up. Maybe we went too far. Because now we're no longer worrying about jittering, we're worrying about back tilt. Okay, so not that. Was this happening at 50K? I want to see. Because we were happy with 50K. Just tilted super hard. It never tilted back. We never wanted to tilt back either. 500? Yeah, let's try that. 'Cause I don't remember seeing it until we hit that threshold. Yeah, okay, so that implies it's too weak to resist the forward momentum. 55k. Once we hit a solid number, we clamp the tilt. We should be good. Honestly. Clamping the tilt is honestly pretty easy. Just gotta make it a locational thing. I've made that mistake before. Do you bounce back? You do! 53k. Did we just luck out with 50k being the right number? Like the first thing we guessed. It's not bouncing back. Oh, no, there it is. 52! Once it gets up to speed, yeah. We were going to clamp max speed too, but then we got distracted by this whole thing. I think you might be right. I'm being picky. There it is. Woo! No, I think you're right. Let's just stick with 50k. It's strong enough that it creates the bounce we wanted with a little bit of bounciness to it. It creates the tilt we want. So we just need to make it so it's not grinding into the ground. Alright. So now, with that in mind, let's get this a bit organized so it actually looks like I intended the function to look this way. Good. We go to car. We're going to add another check. Because we want to lock... We want to lock the pitch so it doesn't go farther than a certain direction. But here's the thing. We want it to be able to go that direction, because let's say it's going up a ramp, or it's going over a hill. Obviously, we want it to be able to rotate. So we need to lock not the angle, but the... What do we lock? What's the specific thing we lock? I've done this before. Hold on. Yeah, I had one called pitch shifting. It's gotta be in here. Add relative rotation. Oh god. Oh, I set the relative rotation. Quaternion? No, no. First off, let's create a new function. We're gonna call this pitch lock, because we don't want it to go. Let's call it restraints. That's better. It'll happen right here. Okay, so that's happening every tick. Now let's make it work. Okay, so how do we lock the rotation of a car without removing its ability to go up and down ramps? Let's see. Is it situational? If we're pressing forward, we want it to lock. But if we're pressing forward going on ramp, we don't want it to lock. when it's going up a ramp, its world rotation is moving. So we want that to be free. But its relative rotation might be the key. Let me think. Set relative rotation of the body set the rotation of the component relative to its parent. No, that's not what I want. Because it is the parent. Set local rotation? Is that a thing? No. World rotation? Oh, I got it. We need the rotation in relation to the surface that it's on. So if the surface is flat, we want the angle from the rotation to be no greater than this rotation. And in both directions. So we need to find the surface normal of the surface we're on, take the angle of that, and then make it so that it never goes beyond those reference angles. So that requires some math. Damn it, math. And the surface normal is determined by the suspension components. So I've done this before in pitch shift. I think. Set relative rotation versus world rotation. There. Oh, God. Suspension component 1. Get the target surface normalcy. I have calculated this before. Okay. This is how I did it before. And I ran into problems. Add relative rotation. Okay, so we're going to have to break this down a bit. The first thing, are all wheels down? Yes. We're then going to check to see which set of wheels is touching the ground. The front or the back? The front takes priority. So if it's the front, we're going to check the surface normal for both components. We're going to see if either one is less than 0. And if either one is less than 0, Z. Then we do nothing. But if it is greater than 0, the angle is greater, then we're going to do some math. We're going to take the components. We're going to take the compression ratio from both components, because that is how far the car is being pushed down. If it is greater than the index, the hell is the index? Oh, this, sorry. If it's... Basically, we're taking whichever one is greater we're using that to control the pitch. But this had a fatal flaw. This is what caused the car to pivot to the top of any ramp that it was climbing. So I had to turn it off. So if I find the flaw in it, I could turn it back on and go from there. Alright. Let's do this. Let's return this back to its function. See if it fixes the issue we were even working on. Oh, it does. But look, the car's still jittering. Oh, hell. That means unless the car is touching the ground, the jitter is always going to happen. Hot damn. Okay, so... Oh, what's happening here? Oh. Okay, that's new. Oh, crap. That's on me. Okay, well, let's just... Yeah, alright. Let me just see if the ramp thing is still happening. This is causing all sorts of issues that I don't like. Yep, sure is. Okay, so we can't do that. Why is the yaw being altered? That's even weirder. Or no, not the yaw, the roll. How did the roll come into all this? Okay, but all the calculations are here. I just need to use them. See, here it adds relative rotation. I think I need to set the rotation rather than add it. Because adding is just taking whatever the rotation is and just putting more onto it. But I don't. Turn the vehicle speed down. I should do that. That's the thing I was planning to do on this damn stream. Limiting the speed. But I do have... I do want to have features, like the boost that would put you over that distance. But right now, it's a mechanical thing. This shouldn't happen at any speed. So... Oh my god. Hold on. The max speed. It's not working as intended. Is that what's causing it to go back and forth? Okay, no. It's jittering regardless. Whee! Wow, even in the air, it's still... Okay, I gotta turn this. Turn that sucker off. Right, don't worry. Speed is something we'll address eventually. That was the goal of today's stream, but... Okay, it's pitching so far forward that it's dragging into the ground.
Go.
Here, let me get on a straightaway. I want to check something. Now, with no speed to hold it back. I love that they're exactly the same color. Crap. Here we go. So that was what I was worried about. I was worried that the max speed check, which isn't working, was causing it to go back and forth, which may have been causing the issue. But thankfully it's not, so we're good. How do I control this pitch? The bouncing is perfect. I could just control the pitch. Speed cap to 50. Yeah, right. Oh, damn. And why isn't this working? Set relative rotation. Adds a delta to the rotation of the component relative to its parent, which in this case is the world. Clearly it's not working. Go-kart. Oh, wouldn't that be fun? So set relative rotation is just making it spin in the air by your command. That's allowed. That's how I do aerials. But I don't need it to not... Should I dampen it? No, because that'll make going up ramps and whatnot a nightmare. Wow, I really do have to do this according to the surface I'm on. Which means I have to make this system work. God damn, alright. I'm taking the impact of normal Z. Variable is not in scope. Right. I'm checking to see any of them are less than 0. If they're greater than 0, then what am I checking? What does it mean for their z to be greater than 0? It's not negative. So if the surface is pointing up in any direction, what happens if it's negative, mofo? That's a possibility. Alright, so that's one thing I overlooked. Keep it going! Okay. So then I check this. Both components, take the compression ratio. Is one less than the other? We're going with whichever compression ratio is smaller? I'm pretty sure. And then we're multiplying that front angle from the normal, subtracted by 90 degrees. And that should get us the angle of difference between the car facing forward and the ground. If the angle is greater than 20 degrees, do nothing. If the angle is less than 20 degrees, and it's greater than 0, can't be negative, then add the relative rotation. Specifically, make it this rotation. Ah, okay. I am making it equal to the compression ratio of the car. So however much the car is compressed between 0 and 1, I am turning that into an angle and applying that to the pitch of my car. And I think I'm doing the same thing down here if the back wheels are the only ones touching the surface. But that doesn't explain something. Why is it suddenly attacking my roll, of all things? And where does last rotation come into it? This is... It makes sense why this would work. So why doesn't it? Oh, hold on. Made a mistake. I might just delete this function altogether. Okay. I go forward. The car pitches. It bounces back and forth. Why does it do this? It should stay in one pitch and stay there. It should go to 20 degrees and then stop. I did lower the car's, I did lower the car though. Maybe it's too low now. Let me make it 10 degrees and see if that fixes it. Eyes are burning for some reason. Still doing the... And why is it going side to side? It's teeter-tottering between the left and right sides. No. We made a car so bouncy that we created a teeter-totter from side to side. Oh no. I have a question. The car's high up, right? Yeah. Doesn't bounce all that hard. So why does it bounce often? God, I do not get this code. I don't know how this is all calculated. I don't understand how this came to be. I just don't get it. I don't think I've fixed anything so far. I don't think I've made any progress. That really bites. Because locking the pitch was something that was possible to begin with, right? It's also very telling that it's basically maxing out to 50k, this number. I should really rewrite it. God, do I have to? Do I have to rebuild this from the ground up? I mean, no. To be fair, I have all these other functions already built. Ah! Alright, so feed me this number instead. Number bounces back and forth between positive and negative numbers. Let's make it really unbouncy. See what happens. See, if it touches the ground, then it's just like the whole point is lost, right? So I want to make it as weak as I can without having drag it into the ground. Really? I want to just barely be keeping itself up. Okay. Closer. I don't like how close to 50k we're getting. And the fact that it maxes out at that value. Really? Phasing through the ground. Wow. Straight up does not have the strength to hold itself up. But how can it have that, but still cause the teeter-totter effect? Is it slowly phasing through the ground? It is. $50k really is the magic number, huh? This getting more compressed? I'm watching the green lines. Wow. We really did land on a perfect number. You know what I need? I need it to be incredibly stiff. I need it to not be like walking on springs. I need them to be rigid. What I don't understand is that if I raise the number super high, it becomes stronger, so it bounces higher when I drop it from higher. And it stops bouncing around so much, but it jitters to the point that I can see it. This is so maddening. It's maddening. The system doesn't make sense. I have to rewrite the whole damn system. I have to make a Boxcar 3.0. Oh my god. And see, that's just too bouncy. How can it be simultaneously... Why did I do it like this? Why did I make it so that they were springy? What was the idea? I liked the floatiness of the car. That was the main reason. I wanted to create a hover car because that was superior to everything I had before. But the result of that was that I created springs to keep the car up instead of collisions. Because I wanted nothing to do with friction. Okay. What happens if we turn off the suspension? What happens? I can't move forward. And why not? When I press the W button, I'm pressing W button down. Acceleration, reverse, where are you? Oh, this is a whole thing. Right. I'm testing to see if I'm touching the surface. Okay, so instead of turning off suspension, since I built the whole damn system around it, let's go through everything except applying the force. Let's just turn this off. What happens? I won't be propped up, but the car will still move. So then, what if I go to the boxcar, I take these wheels, and I give them collision. Physics. this. Block all dynamic. Since the wheels are inside the car, we'll have to raise them up. What happens? Huh? Oh. Why are the wheels starting inside the car? They're not inside the car. Lower, just go lower. What's going on with those wheels? And 1. $125. Negative 125. Instead of attaching into the suspension component, attach them to body. So the suspensions aren't dragging them down. Can't move. Why can't I move? Touching the ground. Raise the wheels. Okay. Why would that block it? We are out of time, yes. Just wanted to see if I could get this to work before I went for it. So why won't it push it forward? It's not activating. I'm just monitoring the blueprint. Let's see why it's not firing off. Okay. So this is firing off. Add force at location. Forward speed. Acceleration speed. Forward force. Get world location. So why is it 0? It's not a 0 force, is it? No, it's not. It's negative. Why is it negative? Why are the wheels getting in the way? This is dumb. This should just work. It shouldn't be causing this problem. We go back to no collision. What happens? They'll phase through the ground as if they weren't even there. And now I can move forward. But the vector is still negative. The vector is still a value. Which means that the collision with the ground is creating a force so great that the car simply cannot move anymore. Is that what you're telling me? Well, here's the thing. I still have a car. We just have a new issue now. Why? Oh, why? Are the wheels preventing forward force? There's no reason for them to. Are they colliding with each other? With the car itself, I wonder. Damn. Okay, guys. It sucks to leave it off there, but, there's nothing more I can do tonight. It's a very ambitious thing to rebuild the driving system from the ground up. I don't think I have a choice. Considering all the issues we hit today, several things have become very clear. The system we have is far too sensitive. It is way too sensitive to be tweaking. So much, in fact, that every time we try to implement a fix, we would break 3 more things. We have to have a system that's more controllable than that. Second, the system of springs was good for floatiness, but now I think I've moved past that. I think I've moved to a point where I don't need the hover car system anymore. I need to create a brand new system that has nothing to do with springing the car above the ground whatsoever. 3, no matter how much I try to fix the springs, there'll always be springs, which means the car simply just won't work. Because it won't be a car, it'll be a pogo stick. A car on 4 pogo sticks. Which is weird, but that's how it is. And the final element is that I don't know how this system works. I made this system years ago under a tutorial to how to make a hover car. And I legit don't remember how this thing works at all. So there's really no merit to keeping it. It's time to tear it down and start anew. But that's the thing, we're not starting anew. We are straight up replacing the feature, and we're going to improve it with a far better one. If we can figure out how wheels work. So, thank you all so much for hanging out. I hope you had fun. I know I did. I know it's frustrating to run into issues like this, but it's actually very... it's... What's the word? It's satisfying to work on this. Because when I'm hitting my head against a wall when it comes to a game, I feel frustrated. Because I know I'm not good enough, or the game is screwing me over, and I'm wasting time. But here, nothing is wasted. Because every bit of testing and work that we do is improving the game. So every iteration, every test, no matter how silly or how ridiculous it gets, it's helping. Or making progress. That progress bar is going up, even if it's only slightly. And some progress is better than 0 progress, infinitely better than 0 progress, which is why I'm actually pretty thrilled. So I'll do some investigating. That'll probably be my project for the next week. I will be working on replacing the wheels with an actual wheel system that just helps prop it up. I'll probably just create some sort of... I don't know. A system that props it up that doesn't collide through. I don't know. I have to figure out how this works. It's a whole thing. Colliding with the ground is creating a friction element, and I don't want that to happen. So, in any case, thank you all for hanging out. I hope you learned something. I will be giving a version of this into the Discord for anyone who wants to help bug fix. And otherwise, I appreciate all your help. I will see you tomorrow for Friday Fun, and I'll be calling the poll for Friday Fun shortly after stream today. So if you haven't voted, do it now. Otherwise, thank you all so much. I hope you have a good night. And as always,